Great Britain has relaxed its coronavirus border controls. From next week, double vaccinated tourists from the EU and the United States won't have to quarantine on arrival. They will still have to present negative COVID tests. Thailand, South Korea, Malaysia and Japan have all reported the highest daily number of cases since the beginning of the pandemic. The Delta variant is being blamed for the surge in cases. President Macron of France has said his country owes a debt to French Polynesia over nuclear tests held there. Nearly 200 nuclear tests were performed over 3 decades. It's estimated over 100,000 were affected by radioactive fallout. Peru's new president, Pedro Castillo, has been sworn in after a long and tense election process.
In Tokyo, health officials report a record 3,177 new COVID-19 cases Wednesday as the city holds the Summer Olympics, causing concern that rising cases could fill hospitals. In Beijing, China's foreign minister meets with a delegation of high-level Taliban officials from Afghanistan to increase diplomatic ties between the two countries. Tunisia's president orders a curfew in reaction to violence that followed his decision to suspend the parliament. And in Peru, Pedro Castillo is sworn in as president. The new leader faces political division after a disputed election.
Tokyo is setting a new record of COVID cases in the last 24 hours. James Longman is there live with the latest.
Yeah, good morning, George. Japan is seeing a big jump in COVID cases on a daily basis now. More than 3,000 in the last 24 hours. That is yet another record. Delta is fueling it here out in Japan, but also inside the Olympic bubble, 174 cases now. Among them, one athlete who tested positive when she arrived here in Japan, and she's now taken to Instagram to complain about the conditions she's in quarantine. Her name is Candy Jacobs. She's a Dutch skateboarder, and she says she's not even been allowed to open the window in her hotel room to get fresh air. She calls the conditions inhuman, and I think it's a worrying glimpse of what other athletes who may test positive here might face. George?
Tough situation. Okay, James, thanks very much.
We start here in Japan, where health authorities confirmed over 9,500 new coronavirus cases across the nation for the first time since the pandemic began. About a third of Japan's new infections are in Tokyo, where officials announced an all-time daily record of more than 3,000 cases on Wednesday. The capital has seen record highs 2 days in a row. The spike comes as Tokyo hosts the Olympics while it remains under a 4th state of emergency. People in central Tokyo are feeling anxious.
3,000 sounds scary, but it's no wonder as people are too relaxed.
I can't believe the Olympics are going on. Government leaders say fewer people are going out, but they don't respect scientific evidence or experts' views.
Japan's emergency measures are not as strict as the lockdowns enforced in other countries. Officials here can only urge residents to avoid non-essential outings and ask restaurants and bars to close early. But the state of emergency did prompt the unprecedented decision to hold the Summer Games almost entirely without spectators. Meanwhile, daily cases are also increasing in areas around Tokyo where less restrictive quasi-emergency measures are in place. The 3 prefectures, Kanagawa, Saitama and Chiba, reported their own all-time highs on Wednesday. The Kanagawa governor says he plans to ask the central government to issue a new state of emergency.
The situation with infections is extremely serious. We're facing a critical moment.
Kuroiwa says his prefecture's medical system is on the brink of collapse. He says he's planning to request the state of emergency along with the 2 other governors. Organizers of the Tokyo Olympics have disclosed the massive waste of food at last Friday's opening ceremony. The admission comes after media reported thousands of prepared staff meals at venues have been going uneaten. The organizing committee told reporters on Wednesday around 40% of the 10,000 meals at the National Stadium went uneaten that night. It said other games venues were in a similar situation. About 20 to 30% of all meals ordered last week went to waste. The committee says it overestimated the demand for food, and many staff were too busy to eat. Officials say they're trying to order food more efficiently so they don't waste any more.
We regret the large amount of over-ordering that has occurred until now, but please note surplus food is not disposed, but recycled into animal feed and biogases.
Takaya was questioned on Tokyo's recent surge in coronavirus cases. He said experts are extensively discussing any possible link between the new infections and the games. Takaya said the cases related to the Olympics have been contained through continued testing and restrictions on people's activities. USA Gymnastics says superstar Simone Biles has withdrawn from Thursday's individual all-around competition. It did not say whether or not she'll participate in the other individual events. Biles withdrew partway through the team artistic gymnastics final on Tuesday. She returned later but did not compete in the remaining routines. Biles says she needs to focus on her mental health.
I just felt like it would be a little bit better to take a back seat, work on my mindfulness, and I knew that the girls would do an absolutely great job, and I didn't want to risk the team a medal for kind of my screw-ups.
International Olympic Committee spokesperson Mark Adams offered support, saying the mental health of athletes has been a big issue for a few years.
I think what we can all say is that regardless of that, we all have huge respect for her and huge support for her. I wouldn't really want to add much more, and I don't think it's my position to do that at this moment.
Biles won 4 gold medals at the Rio Games. She'd been tipped to add up to 6 more here in Tokyo. She also holds the record for the most World Championship gold medals and overall medals won by an artistic gymnast of either gender. Japan sealed another gold in the Aquatics Center thanks to a comeback victory in the women's 200-meter individual medley. It's Ohashi Yui's second title after taking the 400-meter medley on Sunday. Ohashi won it the hard way. She was trailing back in 5th place after the butterfly leg, but caught up on the backstroke before touching first on the final leg. Ohashi said she'd expected a tight contest, but managed her race well to clinch the victory. Alex Walsh and Kate Douglas, both from the United States, took silver and bronze. Australian Ariane Titmus joined the Tokyo Double Gold Club, adding the women's 200-meter freestyle to the 400 meters she won on Monday. She finished fast to pip favorite Katie Ledecky of the U.S. Hong Kong's Sibone Hawkey took silver, with Canadian Penny Oleksiak in 3rd. Japan's hopeful Hashimoto Daiki has won the gold in the men's all-around in artistic gymnastics. The 19-year-old earned a total of 88.465 points, just 0.4 points above the second-place athlete from China. This is Japan's 3rd consecutive gold medal for the event. Uchimura Kohei earned gold in both Rio and London. Well, Japan's hot streak on the judo mat continued Wednesday with a 6th gold medal, making it 5 consecutive days with a local athlete atop the podium. Arai Chizuru beat Austria's Michaela Polares in the final of the women's 70-kilogram category. 2-time individual world champion Arai advanced to the final after a marathon semi-final bout that lasted more than 16 minutes. In badminton, Japan's gold medal hopeful has failed to advance to the knockout stage. World number 1 ranked Momota Kento lost in straight games to world number 38 South Korea's Ho Gan-hee in the preliminary stage. Momota says he couldn't play with confidence. Now, baseball got off to a dramatic start with Japan defeating the Dominican Republic in a walk-off victory. The opener was held in Fukushima, one of the prefectures hit hardest by the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. This venue also hosted softball. After 6 scoreless innings, the Dominicans broke the ice by knocking in 2 runs in the 7th. They led 3-1 entering the 9th. But Japan came from behind with star player Sakamoto Hayato connecting to end the game 3-4. Baseball was restored as an Olympic sport for the first time since 2008. But it will not be included in Paris 2024.
So you can see all sides of the story. Depend on us for coverage from across the globe.
Officials in South Korea say the country's daily coronavirus cases have hit an all-time high. They reported 1,896 new infections on Tuesday. The number of cases outside the capital Seoul and nearby areas is on the rise. It now accounts for about 30% of the daily tally. Government officials say infections of the highly contagious Delta variant, first reported in India, are spreading. They also say more people are traveling as the summer holiday season has started. During the government's task force meeting on Wednesday, Prime Minister Kim Bok-yong said the spread of infections is showing no signs of slowing. Over 30% of South Korea's population has received at least one dose of the coronavirus vaccine. Media outlets in the nation report there are growing concerns about securing enough shots. Turning to Indonesia, where officials reported a record 2,069 deaths from the coronavirus on Tuesday. The spread of the virus is largely driven by the surging Delta variant. More than 45,000 new infections were also confirmed on Tuesday. A group of doctors and public health experts say since last month, about 2,700 infected people have died while recuperating at home or in places other than hospitals. Tuesday's data from the World Health Organization show Indonesia had the highest single-day death toll and number of new cases in the world. The government says it'll secure more hospital beds and self-isolation facilities. The pace of infections is also accelerating in other Southeast Asian nations. Thailand reported a record tally of over 16,000 new cases and 133 deaths on Wednesday. The Philippines recorded more than 7,100 new cases on Tuesday, and that was the highest daily increase in more than 6 weeks. In other news, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is drawing attention for an address he gave on the anniversary of the Korean War armistice. But it's what he didn't say that's getting noticed. Unlike last year, Kim made no mention of nuclear deterrence. The ruling Workers' Party newspaper, Rodon Shinmun, said Kim spoke at a conference of war veterans on Tuesday. It reported Kim addressed the coronavirus pandemic and UN sanctions. He said the global health crisis and prolonged blockade have caused hardship no less challenging than during the war and called for internal unity. But Kim did not mention nuclear deterrence. In last year's address, the North Korean leader stressed his country's stance on possessing nuclear arms for self-defense. South Korea's Yonhap news agency says Kim may have avoided provocative remarks this year as Pyongyang moves to improve its foreign relations. The two Koreas on Tuesday reopened direct cross-border lines of communication. South Korea and the United States are discussing the details of their regular joint military exercise scheduled every August. North Korea has called for the drill to be canceled. And shifting to the weather, it looks like Japan is going to be dealing with plenty of summer heat as we go through the rest of the week. Our meteorologist Jonathan Oh has the forecast for here and elsewhere in our World Weather Report.
Hello, we have been talking about Neighbor attack over the past few days as the system was getting close to Japan. Now we're talking about a former system that's just a shell of what it was, and even that, it was a tropical storm at best, and now we're talking about a much weaker system that's just going to really be bringing enough disturbance to where southerly flow is going to make things still feel a bit steamy and sticky around the area. And depending on where some of the air is flowing through, on the higher levels of the atmosphere, maybe creating a little bit of instability. So be on the lookout for that. But otherwise, we're not talking about much in terms of precipitation. Mainly going to be dry forecast, but we may be talking a little bit in terms of cloud cover for Thursday. So from Sapporo to Fukushima, we're talking about clouds on Thursday with a mix of sun into Tokyo with a high of 33. And we're talking about 30s for the rest of this week into the first part of the weekend, so be on the lookout for that. While we're talking about the end of that, we're also talking about the end of Infa, though the storm, or what's left of the storm, is just dumping a bunch of rain near Shanghai, and that's going to still be the case as we go forward throughout the day on Thursday, as this system has tracked away from Shanghai toward the north now, so the northeastern or close to northeastern areas of China need to look out for that. 1, 2 markers of possible tropical disturbances. We'll keep an eye out on that. On Thursday, from Beijing to Shanghai down to Taipei, looking at thunderstorms with high